Alright guys, I want to welcome you all back to some more of The Great Ace Attorney 2. So, as usual guys, we're still continuing with the whole trial for Von Zieks over here, and yeah, we're making headway and we're getting into some more detail and seeing what's going on. So we're pretty much going to continue on from there and see how it goes. So if anything else guys, I hope you all continue to enjoy watching. Let's keep it rolling. Alright guys, welcome back. Let's continue onward. It's not all that though. I took it to Habez that night to ask how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it, said it wasn't working, knocked about and worthless he called it. Ugh, I knew I should have lifted it. That watch must be submitted as evidence at once. Oh please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children. Watch your manners. Good lord! The glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot. Doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Habez didn't want it. What a waste, huh? Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard then. You know, what if... Well, I don't know if it's proof of it, but I think the bullet may have hit the antique watch instead of, Gregson. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Gregson's pocket watch. Okay, well it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. And as predicted, it had a very little bearing on the case. Let me check out the thing for a minute though. Hold on. I want to see that pocket watch. The glass over the face really is badly cracked, look. What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Shumps could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd job man. Okay, let's, keyhole. Ah, there's a tiny little keyhole here, can you see? Oh yes, that's probably for the winder to use to wind up the mechanism. It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole. It'd be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. Let's see what else we have here. Policeman figure, a small and rather endearing model of a British policeman found at the scene of the crime on Fresno Street. The helmet of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for wear. I'm not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. The head part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled. Almost as somebody has enjoyed twisting it around and around for fun. Shall we try twisting it around and around too for fun? Ah, what's that? It appears to be some sort of key. Oh my gosh, who would have guessed? Let's go. But it's tiny though. It couldn't be a key for a door, not that size. So what is it for, I wonder? Ah, yeah, I have an idea. Mr. Sato, do you think that perhaps the key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. I knew it. A perfect fit. And look, the inspector's watch has started going again. Ah, so it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mr. Sato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I better start thinking deeply too. Okay, that's what I should have done. Okay. Now we're set. Now we're set. Okay. We should be able to present the thing now. Alright. Objection! I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh. At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key? And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. What? Order! 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 But Counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock. Yeah, which is just when we heard the gunshot. It is exactly the hour. The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection!
No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Said he hadn't missed a day since the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. The victim was in a habit of winding his watch once a day in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece in the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. Oh, well, how do you explain it then? In summary, the evening before the day of the incident when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Order! Order! Counsel, that is the most extraordinary claim.
Objection!
Extraordinary isn't the word, it's absurd. You know, every time I hear Kazuma say objection, I feel like that voice doesn't suit that character. I have to hear him speak some more though. I feel like his objection is weird. It sounds weird to me. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right! Wait a minute, you're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in. What do you mean? Like I said, I planted my hand in a dirty gray puddle of blood. Yes. So the victim's blood hadn't dried, it was fresh. He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection!
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards.
Objection!
Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Why is he calling me learned friend now? Well, it needn't necessarily have been a human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched at present. You are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection!
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question. Is it though? What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all. Oh, please. What are you trying to say? Us lot know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room. Now, you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise. Eh? Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with... Ah, I have that. I have it. Let's go. I have it. Firecrackers. Let me see something first. I don't want to mess up again. Oh, fuse right there. Have you an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like... Yep, we got it now. Okay, we're ready. That's what we needed to hear. Take that! Something like this? The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot. Good gracious! The very fireworks that are sold by the witness? Now hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway. See? Not 100 of them together. The Venus special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot in fact. Ah! You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene? I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear. Objection! But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause the bang was Barak von Zeeks. One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? It's why people like them. I fear for your fingers, young lady. Objection! Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned a very useful invention indeed. Something called, a time bomb. Good heavens, a bomb? Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. Ah, no, wait, it's the whenever you like part that's important. A timed device? Yes, exactly, a timed device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a timed device was employed to create the gunshot sound? The candelabra? Take that! As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet which presumably passed through the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible? Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are? Goodness, yes! But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Ah! Which means that the scorching of the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. You're suggesting it came from the fireworks? How can that be? The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and firecrackers were joined together. culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe, the previous day even. Now, just hold your horses. All us lot here saw the victim going into the building, remember? I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Obviously, anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say? It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer. Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Order! 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 Prosecutor Asogi, what on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today, so we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly, I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspectors always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the Yard? However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent that what case the man was pursuing, wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree. Surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector in the day prior to the incident? The wig? The Red League or something?
Take that!
I believe the red hairpiece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not! Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in the crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. Ah, that's the name. The Red-Headed League? So, you already worked it out. What on earth is all this about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? Ha! I got that reference. The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads? Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece, so it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us at least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring those two red-headed lead conspirators before me, Professor Asogi. At once, my lord. Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. Alright guys, I'm gonna have to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. When we come back, we're gonna continue back to part 2.